Hi, everybody. I just wanted to make sure that everyone can see me, that I am live. Hi, my name is Ethony, and if this is the first time that we are coming across each other on the interwebs, I am a modern eclectic witch. I am a tarot reader, tarot professional, and I'm an author as well. This is my second book with Llewellyn, which is coming out in August. Tarot Grimoire. I am the creator of many indie decks. My latest is the Cosmic Wisdom. I'm going to be talking about one of the cards from this deck. And I love merging tarot into my magical practice. Actually, I love merging tarot into pretty much anything. I live, breathe, and eat it pretty much. I've been reading since I was 15. It was when I got my first tarot deck. And in this new book, Tarot Grimoire, I wanted to create a practice that you can really implement in your life and change and adapt and make it into your own thing to bring the tarot to life, so that when you are doing a reading or you have a card that you're trying to work your way through or learn the lesson of, that you can have real life applications and magical applications to bring the energy into your life. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is why working with magic and tarot is really powerful. And then I'm also going to go through an example from my book of a card and the tarot spread and then the actual spell, and the way I was thinking about these two things working together. And it's not necessarily the most positive card, not that I think anything has an overtly I don't think any of the cards are something that we should be afraid of, but it's a card that, that you might get stuck on, or that you've come across and gone how am I supposed to work through this? So we're going to do that. And then I'm also going to be here for Q&A. So if you have any questions that you want to ask at the end, then I would be most happy to answer them. So that's what I'm going to be covering in this half an hour session that we have. I could talk about this topic all day, but this is the time we have available together. As you probably have realized from my accent, I am not from North America. I am Australian, although I live in Vancouver, Canada now, and I've been living here for 11 years. So I'm seeing people from all over the place. So hello to everybody. Okay, so one of the big reasons why I love to have magic attached to the art of tarot is that when we create space to do a tarot reading, and you have spent all this wonderful time and energy giving a reading to someone, or even, having a reading for yourself, after the reading, after we close out that container, that space, sometimes we just completely forget about the reading. Sometimes we might ruminate on a specific aspect of the reading. And other times we just kind of go, oh, well, that was fun. And there's maybe some next steps you can take. Hopefully, I love to leave all of my clients with something that they can do, to empower their life and really have it as okay, so this is maybe the situation that's going on, but how can we improve it, or how can we bring what you're really desiring into your life in a faster way, in a more aligned way? And magic is one part of that. And magical practices from all around the world have been used in lots of different ways, and just because you don't identify maybe as one of the labels attached to modern practices doesn't mean that you cannot do magic. You might not be Wiccan or a witch or a pagan, and that's completely okay. You don't need to be. Everyone has that connection to magic in their lives, and some of that may be cultural, from when you grow up and you have specific cultures that your family traditions or that you are around that you adopt or are exposed to. And some of them may be as simple as blowing out a candle and making a wish for your birthday, or wishing on the first star that you see at night, or kissing someone at New Year's. So there's lots of different ways in which we have ritual and spells in everyday life. And so it's really about using the tools and techniques in any book, but I do lay out this, casting spells in here as well, to embody the tarot. And in this way, we're taking an active role in our magic. One of the things that I was taught very early on in my training, when I was undertaking my training for Modern Wicca, was that we need to meet the magic halfway. And the meaning, the way that I see this, and you might have seen it presented in a different aspect, is that you can't just do a spell, for example, for a new job and then just sit around and do nothing. You need to actually meet that magic. You have to match the vibration of what you put out there for a new opportunity and better money and a better schedule, or whatever your motivation is for creating that spell and wanting that new job. You have to meet it halfway. You have to do your resume up, network, make sure you're actually applying to jobs, which might sound, a little bit like elementary, but it's super important. So you need to meet that magic halfway. And that's the same with kind of the tarot reading, right? You've got a reading, and maybe it's saying, okay, well, if we can focus on this, if we can do more of this in your life, then you're going to bring more of your wanted outcome. And having spells can be a way to meet the magic halfway, align your vibration. So I love incorporating these two things. I absolutely do not do a tarot spell for every single reading, or recommend that to every client. There isn't necessarily a need every time, but what is wonderful is that having all of these options means that if you're ever getting really stuck on a card, if a card keeps coming up for you and it's just relentlessly hounding you, you can maybe look at the vibration and how to move that vibration, or embrace or release, however that situation is coming up for you in your life. Everything in the book that Tarot Grimoire is adaptable, so you can adapt it to your practice. So because we have limited time, I'm going to move on to the card that I picked for today and the work that we're going to do around it. So the card that I picked for today is the Four of Cups. Okay, so this is the pages, there's more than one page for the Four of Cups in the book. And the Four of Cups, as we know, is a card of, this is my Four of Cups from my deck. It's a card of boredom and apathy and emotional disengagement. And it's sometimes, we have those moments in our lives when we're feeling a little bit blah, or where we've lost the joy a little bit. We no longer want to engage emotionally. And sometimes that comes from, disassociating can be a self-protection thing. But there are other times when our apathy can really sort of take over, or feel as though it is a state that is lingering. And so what I wanted to do with the Four of Cups spell and the spread is a two-pronged approach to working through a space and an energy or a time in your life when you're feeling meh, when you're feeling blah, when you're like, whatever, I'm just going through the motions, and you're really just struggling to re-engage the joy and find the joy. And so the first part of the work with the Four of Cups is my release apathy spread. And apathy, or feeling apathetic or disillusioned or disconnected, is a isolating feeling. It's a feeling where you are alone in that experience, unless you go and sit in a park and be apathetic with a whole bunch of other people, or you like to spend time with people who are also, wanting to perpetuate that energy. A lot of times it's internal. Your emotions aren't feeling connected. The waters aren't running as they should or flowing as they should in your body, because 4s in numerology are about stability. They're about this flatness, right? When you've got 4 of something, it's a pair. 2 pairing it's a square. It's not really moving anywhere. So 4s are this stability. But when we have stable water, too much stable water, it becomes yuck. That's where bacteria is bred. If anyone's watched anything like Naked and Afraid, you know that you do not drink the water from a source that is not running, because it's usually full of icky stuff. And when we get into that space through the 4 of Cups, when we're in that icky water, how do we get out of that? Because we can also be just stuck in our own emotional waters, our own bodies, in our own space. So the release apathy spread, and I'm sorry, I'm holding up the book here, and this is, by the way, this is my, this isn't the final copy right there. So this is just my edited copy. Mel, this is a lovely room divider from IKEA covered in vines. The release apathy spread is a 5-card spread, and we look at here what thoughts are keeping you unmotivated. What the second position is, what needs of mine aren't being met, because often with apathy there is a need that is not being met or required. Oh yeah, she is a big book. She's a big book. What are my feelings trying to tell me? When we have a look at the 4 of Cups, we see the hand here trying to give the Ace of Cups back to this person. Those emotions aren't being acknowledged. They're not being honored. So what are my feelings trying to tell me? And sometimes that Ace of Cups isn't the positive Ace of Cups. Sometimes it's the overwhelm. Sometimes it's too much. So I'm just going to ignore that cup because it's just going to be too much. So the third position being, what are my feelings trying to tell me, is really important. The fourth position is what positive options in front of me are being ignored. So that's the more positive aspect of the cup being handed out to us. And then what steps can I take to release this stagnation? Of course, isn't the cover beautiful? They did such a beautiful job. It's just absolutely stunning. So that spread is the 4 of Cups spread. And so say you've done that spread now, you've kind of looked at what's going on in your life. And I'm a big fan of having a tarot journal or somewhere you can write down your thoughts and feelings. I have like a million journals where I create tarot spreads and I write my own, readings down and things like that. So once you've had some time to digest this reading for the 4 of Cups, the spell is another way for you to work with that energy. And this is a little bit different. And this is also one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this one specifically today, is because this is not a traditional spell. Okay, so there might be conjurings of candles and capes and crystals and midnight and all that really fun, very witchy aesthetic. But sometimes spells aren't necessarily all that ritualistic. They're not something that you need to take 20 hours to contemplate your navel and get in alignment. Spells and rituals are all about intention and vibration. So if you have the intention of doing something that with meaning, with purpose, with a goal in mind, you are really able to shift into that spell or intention space or ritual space. Spells are also wonderful ways to quiet the active mind that constantly wants to analyze that side of ourselves, very, King of Swords side of ourselves. It's like, I must know reason, I must be logical. And it can give that side of ourselves something to do so that we can access the watery, intuitive, spiritual side in order to get our vibration into alignment. So the spell for the 4 of Cups is a re-engage joy spell. And this is a way to move through the Four of Cups. And I mean, I can talk about many different ways you can move through the Four of Cups. There's so many cool things you can do. But again, we don't have all that much time. So this spell is a spell that can be cast at any time. So for each of the spells in the book, you'll get a timing alignment. So if you're worried about casting a spell at the wrong time, I do put the most recommended time to cast. But you can also just cast a spell when you have need, because that's going to be the most important part, right? When you have need, you want to go to this space and have that access to that. And this is a journey spell. So not every spell is going to be done in a magic circle. And this is a spell where you'll be exploring your world to find joy. And if even better, I say in the book, if you can do this with someone you love. So if you, in this spell, you're going to pick a location in your area, or even if you can go to a new area to explore. This is a really good reason for a road trip, and I've even put that in there. Some suggestions for this spell are a local park, a thrift store, a marketplace, art gallery, or museum. The great thing about art galleries and museums is that they're usually free. And if you go to a local park or a national park, they're usually free or quite cheap to enter. And as you explore this area, hopefully with your friend, you might want to take your tarot journal and maybe even the Four of Cups card. You're going to find the items listed. And once you've done that, you're going to either take photos, or if you can, if you're in nature, you can bring them home and put some of these things on your altar. When you come home from your journey of joy, place them in your journal as a reminder of the happiness that you can find all around you. So placing those photos in there all around you. So these are the things in the walking spell, the journey spell that you would be finding in that location for the Four of Cups. A yellow item. So yellow is the color of the solar plexus. It is the color of the sun and joy. And we love a good correspondence of color. A symmetrical item. So now we're working with the Four of Cups. We're looking for symmetry. So as I was mentioning before, 4 is stability. And when you look at like 4 walls of a house or 2 pairs, we're looking for that symmetry. So that's why I put in a symmetrical item. A vessel that can hold water, of course, with the Four of Cups. That could be something as small as an acorn hat, the little hats of acorns. I'm sure there's a better word for that, cap. I don't know what they're called, but they're super cute. We get them everywhere around in the fall. Something that reminds you of a happy memory. And so this could be anything. So for myself, if I was out somewhere looking for a happy memory, anything to do with like Care Bears, and I would absolutely be, happy memory. I have a lot of positive memories around parks, trees, willow trees, especially frogs and turtles, because I used to live near, when I was growing up, I lived near a river, and we get turtles in our back garden, and so I love those. So something that reminds you of a happy memory, or a horse, because my dad is a carpenter, and he made wooden horses for us when we were children. And I used to pretend I was She-Ra, and it was amazing. So those would be some of the things that I would be looking for to remind me of a happy memory. Something that you find beautiful. You might even take a beautiful selfie of yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. But something you find beautiful, and something that makes you smile. So it could be something cheeky you see, or just something that tickles your funny bone. And the idea is that you're mindfully looking for these items as a way to re-engage your joy, to find the things that you know you love, that you connect to emotionally, and that you're able to bring into your life. And even better, as I mentioned, if you can take some stuff at home or take photos. So this is my new book, Tarot Grimoire. My other book from Llewellyn that came out in 2019 is Your Tarot Court. So these are the 2 that I've written for Llewellyn, and I'm writing my 3rd right now. So which is very exciting. So this is my book. It comes out on, I think, the 8th of August or the 6th of August, early August anyway. So you can pre-order it now on Amazon, on Llewellyn or Amazon or all those places. Better if you do it with Llewellyn, because, you know, it's as if Bezos needs any more of our money. But when you, thank you, Llewellyn Books. So when you have that spread, or you're getting stuck in that Four of Cups energy, then you can do your writing, do your journaling, do all the things that us tarot people love to do. But then something like this is a really, really good way to re-engage the joy and be an active part in the magic for yourself. And as I mentioned, I also wanted to just show you this spell because it's very, very easy. And it's something where you can do something a little bit different with your magic. And it doesn't mean that it's any less profound or amazing. It's just not necessarily lighting a candle. But there is some of this stuff in there. And that's another reason why I did a lot of different spells, is because not everyone has the resources to get certain ingredients, or maybe they don't want to, you know, light candles or things like that. So I wanted to make sure there was lots of different ways that you could work with magic in this book. So there's lots of things that you can do there. So that's a little bit about my book. There is a spell and a spread for every single tarot card. So just like what you saw here with the Four of Cups, there is something for every single card. There is also little sections in the book where there's like lore about maybe a specific crystal or a herb, or something like that I've talked about. And then at the beginning of the book, I talk about correspondences for magic and spell work, and a little bit about reading cards. And I've made sure that the major arcana and the minor arcana are given exactly the same amount of love. So you're going to get a full tarot and magical experience with this book. So sorry guys, I've got really bad allergies. We've had a very late summer. It's raining outside, but it is Vancouver. So my allergies are absolutely bonkers. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? This is kind of like the Q&A section. It could be about the book. It could be about tarot. It could be about spells. I'm actually not English. My dad is from London. I grew up in Perth, Western Australia. So that's on the West Coast. It's the furthest away from anything. It's the most isolated major city in the world, and I grew up there. And my accent, even an Australian accent, is going to be very different from people who are on the East Coast, from WA. But I grew up around lots of different accents, and my dad has a very thick English accent. Yes, so Mel saying in the chat here, this is so cool for when you're doing a card a day pick. Absolutely. Such a great way to work with the cards and the book. And I love doing it especially for when you have those stalker cards, or those cards that are constantly showing up for you and you're just like, what is going on? Why can't I move past it? It can be one of those resources for you to engage in. You can use any deck that you would like for the magic, and the images are the classic RWS, but you can use any tarot deck that you wish. And as tarot has the it already has so much energy and symbols and correspondences and alignment to magical work, it is the perfect partner to use in your magic, because it already has such a deep system of mysticism in it, as well as it being a tool for divination and insight. So when you're working with the tarot in a magical way, you're not just coming to the tarot with your own experience, with your own energy, with your own background and understanding and power. You're also tapping into the archetypes and all of the symbols and meanings and mysticism from the collective consciousness that is attached to these incredible keys. So that's another reason why I absolutely love tarot and magic. Oh, love the Okanagan. It's so beautiful out there. Jane, I would love to do this when I keep getting stuck on a card. Yeah, 100%. There you go. So someone's saying, hi, hello from Melbourne. Hi from Melbourneian, my fellow Australian mate. Thank you. HMR is saying, do you feel that if a card falls out of your deck while shuffling, the reading becomes null? Should there be one reading limit per day, once a day, for example? Brilliant questions. Firstly, I am an absolute klutz. Like, I shuffle the shit out of my cards. So often the cards might come out or something drops out. I don't think that means anything rather than just me being clumsy and that happening. What I might do is I might just take a little look. So say something falls out of the deck, I might be like, okay, well, that's the Page of Cups. Cool. I'm going to just keep that in my back of my mind. And then if the Page of Cups comes up again in the reading, then I'm like, oh, okay, that card really wants to be known. That is really showing up. And I will have that as an extra weight of the card. But I have literally shuffled like half of the deck onto the floor. So sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean anything. What I will do if a bunch of stuff falls out, I'll make sure I keep shuffling for a little bit before I do the reading. And then should there be a reading limit per day? So a card a day exercise, like a few people have talked about here, is something you can do as a way to either like connect with yourself. I like to call it your inner compass, your guides, your spirit guides, if you work with them in tarot, and even learn the deck. It's a really great way to learn the tarot, a card a day, because then you have 365 interactions with the deck. And it's really great when you have a new deck you want to work with, but it's not necessarily going to be, the only reason. So I actually don't do readings for myself often. I will go to a colleague if it's something important. Sometimes I'll do card a days or general readings for people as well, but I definitely wouldn't do multiple readings on myself during a day, or that just feels like you're kind of just trying to throw everything at the wall. For me, it is a special occasion. It might be a Sabbath, as all of you, many of you know, if you follow me on social media, I do lots of tarot spreads for the new and full moons as well. So a reason or a season. So there might be like a birth, like I just did a bunch of birthday readings for clients this week, so it could be that. So it depends on the need, but I would definitely not do more than one reading on myself in a day. That's a lot. Andrea, what card or cards would work best with a protection spell? There are so many, but off the top of my head, the Seven of Wands is really good, because that is a card of boundaries, of having the high ground and defense. You've got the person with the cross, the wands at the cross, so crossing their body. I think the Emperor can be a fantastic protection card as well. Any of the knights can be protecting. It depends on what you may have. I actually have a bunch of protection spells. And the other thing in the book as well, I'm not sure if it's in here. Oh yeah, there's lists of spells at the back. So at the back here, protection spells, there's strength, which is protect my child spell, the Tower, which is a shock absorption talisman, Five of Cups, protection of your hard, the harder energies in a safe place to grieve. Page of Cups, empathic protection, so protection spells for empaths. And then the Seven of Wands, there's Six of Swords, Nine of Swords, Knight of Pentacles, there's a ton. So I have got lists at the back for the different spells for protection. And can you carry the card on you for energy? Absolutely. There are so many ways that you can work with the magic of tarot cards, and carrying them with you is one of them, and I do definitely talk about that in the book. So there is a fantastic way to work with that card for sure. I would be careful for just with myself, because I am not necessarily the most careful. Like I have a kid and dogs, and I'm always on the run, so I wouldn't put like a card that is like from an indie deck or that I would be worried about losing necessarily, unless I was being really careful with it. But that's just because I lose things all the time. So actually that's a terrible affirmation. But I would just be very mindful. But yes, you can, absolutely. Or you can put it in jewelry, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I know I'm about to run out of time. So thank you so much for joining me. There was a link to where you could get the book. I'm at Ethony over on Instagram if you want to come and say hello. And I have a YouTube channel with over 900 videos that is available to everyone. And yeah, if you have more questions, you can always reach out to me on social. But thank you so much for having me. I really, really enjoyed it, and I hope you got something out of it today. So I'm not quite sure they're going to cut me off, but